There's also another big story that continues to unfold, and I'm, of course, referring to the Tata versus Mistry battle. In fact, let's start with the latest developments in that story. Now, the Tata Steel board has decided to replace Cyrus Mistry as chairman of the board. The company will hold an EGM on the 21st of December to consider the removal of both Cyrus Mistry as well as Nusli Wadia as directors of the company. Until then, OP Bhatt will serve as the interim chairman. Kritika is joining me with the details. Kritika, it's almost following a pattern across Tata Group companies, isn't it?
Absolutely. But, in the case of Tata Steel specifically, it's similar to what happened with TCS. As far as Tata Chem and Indian Hotels was concerned, we didn't see the board remove Cyrus Mistry by majority. But yesterday, what has happened is that Cyrus Mistry has been removed as the chairman of the Tata Steel board. A majority of the board, we understand, has voted in favor of Cyrus Mistry's removal. Now, what is the other point of contention, which is why an EGM is being called? Cyrus Mistry's role as a director now and Nusli Wadia's role as a director. The EGM will be very crucial. And if I break up the shareholding, Tata Sons, of course, being the promoter, holds a 32% stake, but LIC holds a significant chunk of about 13.9%. Together, they have 45.9% stake. So Tata Sons, of course, is on board. And if LIC tenders and votes in favor of Nusli Wadia and Cyrus Mistry being removed as director, we will see Cyrus Mistry being ousted along with Nusli Wadia from the position of director. Now, what is Tata Steel's stance for removing him as the chairman? They say that this is to ensure sustainability as far as corporate governance is concerned, and bringing OP Bhatt is in line with their corporate governance strategy and to ensure impartial leadership to the company. Do people have to worry with respect to group performance? Unlikely, because the fact of the matter is that the company management has been, and that's something the Tata Group has been saying, it's over and above what's happening at a promoter level. Now, the ball is very clearly in the hands of shareholders, and LIC, as we've been reporting, will be very crucial here.
Well, thanks very much for that, Kritika. In fact, earlier this evening, we had Shailesh Haribhakti, Group Chairman, Desai and Haribhakti and Company, and Suhas Tuljapurkar, founder of Legacies, on the channel. And this is how they reacted to the appointment of veteran banker OP Bhatt as the interim chairman of Tata Steel.
I have the deepest respect for Mr. OP Bhatt, and I think it's a very good choice of somebody to steer the company in these difficult times. And I think it is in the fitness of things that if the collective wisdom drove them to this decision, then they could not have made a better choice as the chairman in the interim.
Yeah, so the same question to you. OP Bhatt has now been appointed as the chairman of the company, at least till the EGM.
Yeah, I think as Shailesh Bhai mentioned, I think it's a very good development. But if you look at and read the statement carefully, I think the kind of articulation of the fact that the interest of the stakeholders and not merely the shareholders' interest is being talked about. In as much as they're talking about interest of the employees, interest of other stakeholders of the companies, and from that perspective, having somebody like Bhatt as an independent director who becomes the chairman is kind of reposing faith and trust on the stakeholders' interest, which is much larger than mere shareholders' interest, is a good articulation of the fact that corporate governance takes into account stakeholders' interests.
Right, but Shailesh, I want to come back to the point. A very important point you made is that 2 weeks ago, the Tata Steel board had met. Even at that point, they tried to remove Cyrus Mistry. At that point, the board was clearly split down the middle. Barely 2 weeks later, the board, not unanimously, but overwhelmingly have supported the removal of Cyrus Mistry, barring two independent directors. At least that's the information we're picking up right now. So clearly, one or two independent directors who may have voted against removal of Cyrus Mistry 2 weeks ago, they have now changed their positions today. In such a scenario, can Cyrus Mistry demand, can he seek an explanation from the independent directors as to what transpired in these 2 weeks that made them change their mind?
I don't think there's any legal provision by which he can demand that. But I think when the information is put out in public domain, people will ask this kind of question. And their voting attitude will depend on the quality of answers that are given. Now we have to just trust corporate democracy, nothing else.
Sure,
It is
Shailesh,
now the
but do you think now
shareholders'
the
vote
onus...
that will count.
Shailesh, do you think now the onus is on those independent directors to come out and sort of give an explanation? Because as you rightly said, while under law, there is nothing that Cyrus can do, but clearly, the independent directors who may have voted differently just 2 weeks ago, do you think the onus is now on them to come out and perhaps explain why they have changed their position in just 2 weeks' time?
I do not think that there is any onus. Again, there is no provision or no onus. But it will depend on what they believe and how strongly they believe and whether they think it is important for them to mention this to a wider audience. I think it is purely up to the individual independent directors.
Well, clearly the Tatas pulled a rabbit out of the hat by appointing as on an interim basis OP Bhatt, veteran banker, formerly the chairman of State Bank of India. Meanwhile, following the ouster of Cyrus Mistry as the Tata Steel chairman, sources close to Mistry gave a strong rebuttal to the Tata Steel board. The statement that came out just a short while ago even questioned the independence of the independent directors. Nisha Poddar joins in with the details. And Nisha, what were the 2 or 3 key takeaways from Cyrus Mistry's camp responding to the developments today?
Removal of Cyrus Mistry as the chairman of Tata Steel is coming in as a big jolt for Cyrus Mistry's camp, and there is a scathing rebuttal which is coming in from sources close to Cyrus Mistry. In fact, 4 important points to note there. The Cyrus Mistry camp alleges that there is an unprecedented erosion in the core Tata values, and the Tata brand is taking a knock. Under the new interim or the interim chairman of Tata Group after Cyrus Mistry, the corporate governance of this particular group is touching new laws, and they're saying this and they're going on to explain it in what really transpired in the Tata Steel board meeting. It was a pre-scheduled meeting, and just minutes before the convened meeting, this particular proposal of removing Cyrus Mistry as the chairman of Tata Steel was really initiated. And in fact, sources close to Cyrus Mistry also go on to attack the independence of the independent directors on the board of Tata Steel as well, by even attacking without taking names of Mallika Srinivasan. They have said that there is a wife, an independent director who is a wife of a newly inducted Tata trustee who is also recently nominated director of Tata Sons. And they also say that those involved are representatives of Tata Sons, those drawing large remunerations from other Tata trustee-controlled companies. So clear attack really going in, and the allegation really going in is that the independent directors were not independent enough, and a lot of them are drawing remuneration and are either the spouse of an already existing Tata Sons director. And remember that Venu Srinivasan was also on the board of Tata Sons, which really ousted Cyrus Mistry as the group chairman. So that is the attack really coming in from Cyrus Mistry's camp.